What's up, guys? Jason up, New 80s Revolution, back with another Wrestling with the Past magazine review. That's right, a WWF June 1998 WWF Magazine. This was the prime of my WWF Magazine fandom, I guess you could say. Never had a subscription. I don't know how that went without being a part of my life, but this era, you know, not necessarily my favorite in wrestling, but for some reason this was the era that I really started buying up all the magazines. And this particular one happens to deal with WrestleMania 4, all the results, plus exclusive photographs, of course. So we'll get right into that. I have some interesting opinions on WrestleMania 4. A lot of people think it's the worst WrestleMania of, our time. Not anything, since probably WrestleMania 10. I think it's one of the best, and I'll tell you why when we get to it. So here we go. Yeah, excuse me. Don't want to edit that out. All right. Front page, inside cover. The official WWF WrestleMania 4 program on sale now at a newsstand where your WWF magazine is sold. Table of contents, fine. Okay, great. Looks like we're going to get some double referee drama there. All right. The classic first couple of pages of the magazine. They're still promoting the WWF Action line, the 1-900 line. Actually, it's not 1-900 at this point. It's only 1-900 in Chicago. Everything else, it's a 976 number. Remember those three numbers? That's a blast from the past. 976. I think Freddy Krueger's line was 976 Fred, I think, which is awesome, of course. Wrestling calendar they're promoting. Okay, blah, blah, blah. You got your Columbia House ads. We've all taken advantage of Columbia House. In fact, I still owe them probably about $4,000. Or at least one of my aliases does that I used to get the cassettes. Around the ring, I don't know, just an update from somebody named Ed Ricciuti or Ricciuti, I don't know. Here you go, and check a look at that price. This is still 1988, guys, and we're talking about the WWF double cassette. Remember, this was a 2 VHS set. It was so long that it was spread out on 2 VHS tapes, and that special souvenir packaging was awesome. It was actually like the packaging unfolded, and you got like a Hulk Hogan cardboard standee. The VHS packages turned into that, which I thought was awesome. Never had it. I believe it's a very hard to find collector's item today, but $40 for a VHS back in 1988 is outstanding. In fact, the $40 is cheaper than today's pay-per-views have been for the past couple of decades. Get those VHS tapes. Man, I wish I would. You know what I want to do? I want to send this in. If we all had disposable income, would we do that? Would we send a check for $39.95 to this Coliseum Video Department D address? What would happen? What do you think would happen? You think the check would come back? You think somebody would cash it? Do you think we'd get a sealed WrestleMania 4 sent to us? I'm not going to try it. Fan forum, possibly gimmicked, possibly not. I don't know. These letters to the editor type of columns in magazines, you never know if they are actually letters from fans or, written letters from the editors of the magazine. Here you can join the official WWF fan club now for $9.95. I never did any of those fan club type things when I was a kid. I always thought that what they offered you was junk. A couple of certificates. I think these are some stickers. But yeah, I never got into the fan club thing. And remember, all of these send your address deals are ways for the WWF to get your address so they can continue sending you merchandise catalogs. So every time they asked for your address, it was to get you on their mailing list. Another around the ring on the mat kind of column. I never read those as a kid. Still got the order form. There's your chance to order the WWF magazine and save 42% off the newsstand. Now, what do we get if we call this number? 800-228-2028, extension 62. Do we get WWF magazine? I don't know. I remember this. So here we go. We're getting into some stories now. So we got Jake the Snake. If you recall, oops, sorry about that. It was quite an interesting angle. Rick Rude at this time was inviting ladies into the ring to basically make out with after his match. And I have read that many of them were not necessarily plants. That he might have picked a few people out of the audience to do that. I think some probably were. I think the majority were probably plants. But as you can see here, he goes after, I remember this angle on Superstars. He goes after a lady in the crowd, and she turns him down. And then he gives her a hard time. She slaps him. And then Rick Rude actually grabs her wrist and starts getting rough with her. And then Jake the Snake Roberts comes tearing out of the dressing room, having just taken a shower. I think he had on... God, he didn't have on a towel, did he? Like, he had... I don't know. But they made it look like he had just gotten out of the shower. And he comes out and pummels Rick Rude because that woman is Jake the Snake Roberts' wife. Probably one of 30 wives for old Jake. I remember that. Good time. Good time in the WWF. Real fun era in the WWF. These are, check it out. They got the Hasbro. This is what the original Rick Rude LJN was going to look like, I believe. Those kinds of trunks. Oh, no, wait. Flip that. He had weird lime green trunks in the promo pic. Those are actually similar to the trunks that he has now. Anyway, Bad News Brown, they would do these personality profiles with guys who had either just come in or, had been there, maybe less than 6 months. And just a little update on who Bad News Brown is. Here you can see him beating up old Outback Jack there in the top right corner. The Superstar ice cream bars. Now, I kid you not, I've never even seen these in stores ever throughout my childhood. They were never, ever, ever in my area. And they look pretty awesome. They're pretty perfect. I mean, you got the cookie crunch, you got the vanilla ice cream underneath, and then like a chocolate coating over the vanilla. With the, I don't know how good the imprints were for anybody who had these. Did they look like this, or were they kind of faded and melted and all that? Could you make out who was on the cover? I mean, what a great concept. And these boxes are still on eBay. You can still get an empty Superstars of Wrestling ice cream bar box, probably for like $40. The dreaded interviews. I say the dreaded interviews because I don't think in the history of wrestling magazines these interviews actually ever took place. These are just written by the writers and editors of the magazine. And I'm sure they do a photo shoot with the Hart Foundation, but the interviews are not real. It's good stuff, though. It's good stuff. Hart Foundation. Now, Battle of the Titans. This was a regular column in the WWF magazine. So this is, let's see, the only way Randy Savage can repay. So what they're doing is basically the magazine is a little bit behind. Although they have results of WrestleMania 4, they also have some build up to WrestleMania 4 as well. We remember the crazy times when Hogan was saving Randy Savage and Savage was slowly starting to turn good. What a great thing. I do remember, so this must have been, I don't remember this. This must have been, was this another Saturday Night's Main Event? Fans who witnessed it on Saturday night's main event over NBC television just a few weeks before WrestleMania 4 saw what happened. Savage and DiBiase in a scheduled match had put on a titanic struggle. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so it looks like DiBiase and Virgil were beating up Savage, and Hogan came out and made the save again. I remember the first time that it happened when I believe it was Savage and Honky Tonk Man. And then the Hart Foundation came out, and they were shoving Elizabeth around, and Elizabeth went to the back and got Hulk Hogan. And if you remember, Hulk Hogan is just so goofy. You know, he's being pulled out of the dressing room, and he's acting like he has no idea why. And when he comes through the curtain, she's pulling him by the arm, and he just has the dumbest look on his face. And he starts looking around at the crowd. Like, he hasn't even looked at the ring yet. He starts looking around the crowd going like, what's going on? What? And then he finally looks to the ring and goes, oh, and his eyes get real wide, and he goes running in the ring. It's just so bad and so great. You know, trust me, when I say it's so bad, I mean it's so great. All right, so this, I guess, is a little feature on steel cage matches. This is pretty cool. This is obviously a promo pic of some kind. Empty arena. Hogan in the... I believe that's probably in build-up to WrestleMania 2. I would assume. But yeah, they just do a little story on a steel cage. What's the deal with the steel cage? These bars, I can't say that I hated them because it's the LJN steel cage. But when I was a kid, my problem with these cages... Oh, see, that's... My problem with this type of steel cage, when I was a kid, my fear was that the wrestlers wouldn't bleed if they were thrown into the cage because it wasn't mesh. So I was like, oh, great, there goes bloody cage matches. Those bars aren't going to make you bleed. Then we have some shots of the old school cage, which is cool. This is around 87, I think, so that's like what is it? Strike Force versus the Islanders. So that's probably around 87, 88. So they must have still been using, the old... And then you have this. Like, what's the deal with that picture, right? It's a story on the steel cages. We got steel cage photos. And then we have Brutus Beefcake catching somebody in a sleeper. And so now I'm reading the little blurb there, and it says, a move like the sleeper hold can help you get out of the cage better, right? So you'd put your opponent to sleep. Okay, so that's why they have a random photo of Brutus Beefcake. Looks to be slapping some fan in a sleeper hold. Never saw the Ricky Steamboat Randy Savage cage match. That sounds awesome. And I don't think I've seen the Islanders Strike Force. Maybe I have not seen a lot of 88 house shows at all. At all. In my whole life of collecting, I have not seen the 88 house shows. So maybe at an MSG show or something, these guys all took each other, did the cage matches. So here's where they tell. So they do the investigative report on the Hebners, Dave and Earl. And I remember reading this, and it would talk about how, like, Earl would steal Dave's girlfriend. Here it is. Look at this. This is so good. They did an investigative report, and they've got an update. It says, Earl was the type of kid who would borrow other kids' toys, never give them back, and then blame Dave, right? And a old acquaintance of the family says. And then they say, at Christmas time, our source remembers Earl would get up earlier than anyone else and put his name on Dave's presents. Dave never complained. He was angry, but he did not want to hurt his parents. Is that beautiful? Later, the source revealed Earl began to imitate his sibling at the most opportune moments. While Dave studied for exams at school, Earl was hanging around street corners having a good time. He never prepared for tests. Earl figured he had a better way than studying. At the end of each class, he would offer to collect the papers for the teacher, and he would swap names with Dave. It worked until Dave caught on. I believe, in junior high, Earl fell in with a bad crowd. He played hooky and was always up to mischief. It's so good. Like Earl would steal Dave's girlfriends, and oh, it's so good. The evil Hebners, or the evil Hebner angle is so good. Back orders, back issues of programs and magazines. You got your merchandise catalog. Always the good stuff in here. Look at that. Your cross pen set for what? $29.95. You can get a WWF pen and pencil set. The t-shirts, I mean, it's just all so good. It's all so good. This is just classic wonderfulness. Pull this a little closer for you. There we go. Classic goodness there. I don't know, which one would you want? Which one would you want? I look at these, I gotta go, one that I would wear around regularly. I don't know. Probably, I do have a Macho Man tank top, so I don't know, maybe the Junkyard Dog shirt. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. It's so great. And it's so stupid. You got Billy Jack. Like, Billy Jack Haynes' shirt is his eyes popping out underneath the hat, right? That's okay, of course. So good. So good. Posters. Oh, yeah. Absolutely loved the posters. Loved them. And you look back now, like $4.95. Okay, so if I'm an adult... And I'm an adult wrestling fan in 1988, and I got nothing going on, and I want a poster. I look at this as an adult, and I go, well, just give me them all. Like, let me order all of them. Like, what a great deal! $5 per poster, I'll take them all. But back when we were kids, it was like, oh man, maybe for Christmas I can get a poster. Like it was so hard just to get our parents to pay $4.95 for a poster. Order form. Usually there's some figures in here, but here you go. We can take the Stridex challenge if you guys have any pimples. I do remember using these. I didn't have any acne really as a kid, but anything I did get, I would use these. I would like these are so gross. Like, you'd pull these out of a little container that they were soaking in like acid, right? You'd pull one out and you'd rub it all over your face, and then if you looked at it, it was disgusting. It was brown. Like, what is living on my face that comes off on these Stridex pads? Horrible. More on the Hebners. I'm sure if we read this whole thing, we would just hear all the Hebner brothers shenanigans. It's so great. Still one of the best angles of all time in wrestling. And here's the WrestleMania 4 report, right? And it just goes through. So listen, here's my deal. I loved WrestleMania 4 as a kid for a couple of reasons. One, I love tournaments. All right, I love tournaments. And as a kid, in 1988, you're seeing something in the WWF that you've never seen before. Like, the world title was always with Hogan. And now you have a tournament where anybody can come out of it the world's champion. Now, I don't remember if I thought that maybe Dino Bravo was actually going to be the champion, or Greg Valentine, but probably not. But there was still that chance, right? It's a tournament. I loved it. I loved WrestleMania 4. It was hugely long. I mean, 4 hours. And then the filler matches, the non-tournament matches, were good too. I just thought it was great. I thought that even as a kid, I knew like history was changing in the WWF and when Hogan and Andre like double whatever they did, double disqualification or double count out, then you knew something was going to happen. You knew you were going to get your first new world's champion since Hogan. I don't count Andre or DiBiase. That never meant anything. So in WrestleMania 4, you were going to get your first new WWF champion in what seemed like forever. Right? I started watching in '84. That's when Hogan was champion. So basically my entire run as a wrestling fan up till this point was Hogan with the belt. So it's a big deal, that he's no longer going to be the champion. I remember feeling like the Jake the Snake, Rick Rude match took forever. And I think it was only a 15-minute time limit, but my God, I was like sitting there as a kid. I thought, like, looking back, I thought that was like a 2-hour match. It just took forever. for them to have a double count, time limit. That's what they did. A time limit draw, right? They eliminated them in a time limit draw in a tournament. Some interesting matches. Savage and Valentine, Savage and One Man Gang. Those are interesting. Of course, One Man Gang gets himself disqualified in a tournament, in like the semis of a tournament, I think. A little moron, right? Why do you do that? Yeah, there it is. There's Hogan already getting the WrestleMania 5 match ready. He's already getting the Mega Powers to explode. Already upsetting Randy Savage with the Elizabeth poster. Oh, Hulk. And there we have our celebrities. What do you got there? You got the Trumper. You got Bob Uecker and Vanna White. Yeah. Vanna White made it to WrestleMania 4. Robin Leach reading the proclamation, I remember it was called. A lot of whereases and therefores. Remember that? The WrestleMania proclamation. Whereas and therefore. And then who is that? Who's that? Oh, Gladys Knight. Yeah. Singing the old national anthem. No pips, though. Just Gladys Knight. With a dog catcher suit. Oh, so good. Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan, greatest of all time, hands down. One of the greatest wrestling characters of all time. The Strikeforce title change, the Demolition Era begins, right? And then we've got the six man. The six man. We got Coco and the Islanders taking on Coco and the British Bulldogs taking on the Islanders and Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan fully wearing a dog catcher suit. And I remember Matilda, the Bulldog's dog, being the most docile dog in the world. And they there was no way that dog was going to come anywhere near attacking Bobby Heenan. It was not even going to look like it was attacking Bobby Heenan. Bobby Heenan had to do a ton of selling because the dog was slow. I mean, it's a bulldog. It's like 3 inches off the ground. It's so slow. So when the dog had to chase Bobby Heenan, you would often see the British Bulldogs picking up the dog and running with it after Bobby Heenan. Oh, it's so bad. Brutus Beefcake, Honky Tonk Man, I would not have minded a title change there in that match. I think that was proper if it did happen to get Brutus Beefcake a run with the old Intercontinental title, but no, indeed. And then the introduction of the Ultimate Warrior. Basically, we got him in a just kind of a throwaway match with Hercules. And the Battle Royal. Yeah, I forgot about that. The Battle Royal was fantastic, and really started the face turn of the Hart Foundation and Bret Hart as really igniting Bret Hart into superstar role, because I believe that Bad News Brown was Bret Hart's first singles feud as a Hart Foundation member. So this was it. It was on. And I loved it. I loved the Battle Royal. I love all Battle Royals. I'm still a Battle Royal mark. All right, this was good. I remember this on Superstars. This is Andre. I believe he was taking on a jobber named Brian Costello, I believe. And he was just choking the heck out of him after the match. For some reason, Andre would choke you with his strap, right? Which I don't know, is that even possible? But he was choking out this fella. Let's see if I'm right with the Brian Costello. Yeah, Brian Costello. He's choking him out, right? Tosses him out of the ring. Hacksaw Duggan comes running down to make the save. And Andre pops him in the mouth. And Duggan is bleeding out of his mouth, which was just a great visual. I love it when these accidents happen and then you remember them as if they were supposed to happen. So I don't know if Andre was grabbing, he went to grab Hacksaw, or if he did hit him, but he split Hacksaw's lip open. So when he starts choking out Duggan can now spit blood out of his mouth. And it just takes it to a whole nother level. It's great. And then he gets to his, he sees the, he's being choked out. He sees the 2x4 at his feet. The crowd is cheering him on. He gets the 2x4 and he wallops He wallops Andre, and Andre goes down like an oak tree, right? Just straight down. Boom, he's out. And Hacksaw conquered the big giant with a bloody mouth. Just great. And then the feud was boring because Andre was killing him all the time. Oh, that's right. I remember this. Look at this. There's a couple of things to see. Andre was knocked out, right, by the 2x4. So now you got all these people are trying to help out Andre the Giant. And he gets up, and he's legit terrifying. He's pushing people. Look what he does to the cameraman. I remember he threw that cameraman basically off that apron. He's so mad. He's so out of it. His head hurts. And he's just throwing officials around left and right. They're scattering. So good. These things I remember seeing. These are like, I want to say Napa, but it's not Napa. I think it's like, I don't know. So whatever these were back in the day, TV executive trade shows, right? Where I want to think it's almost like a Comic-Con for network executives to go and showcase their product, maybe? I don't know. But the WWF would always go to these events, and they'd have matches. They would set up a ring, and they'd have matches. And I think that's so great. So basically, this is the WWF showing off of, it's NATPE, it's NATPE, the National Association of Television Programming Executives, a convention in Houston, February 26th to March 1st. Yeah, that's great. I love that. I would have loved to have gone to one of these back then. Now they're, the concept doesn't exist. The wrap up, just what's going on. There's another way to get this. This shows you here how ridiculous WWF fans were back then. The turnout. So when Matilda was injured or kidnapped or whatever, the WWF implored you to write "Get Well Matilda" letters to the dog, and every freaking kid on the planet wrote a letter to the WWF, "Get Well Matilda," right? This happens to be an auto or a order form for a T-shirt. But do you remember that? Do you remember the "Get Well Matilda"? Right. So all these kids are sending drawings and sending crap into the WWF, and then a week later, the merchandise catalog shows up in your parents' mailbox, and they're like, "Why did we get this?" "Oh, because we sent them a letter. We sent them a letter, Mom." Yeah, love it though. But how silly and innocent and wonderful of fans back then to write a letter to the dog. I love it. That's that. The Wrestler's Rebuttal that I mispronounced as a kid and called it the Wrestler's Rebutual. And my friend just hammered me. I didn't know what a rebuttal was. Basically, it's a wrestler, telling his side of the story. So there's Ken Patera saying Dino Bravo is a fraud. We're supposed to think that Ken Patera wrote this. I probably don't believe any of that. And then we have a few more rebuttals from, Rick Martel. So basically, we're to think that Ken Patera wrote it, right? Got it edited, got it published, and then Rick Martel, Honky Tonk Man, Ultimate Warrior, and Hercules wrote in to also give their thoughts, right? That's what we're supposed to believe. This, we could probably get that thing done in about 8 minutes. The WWF crossword. Caught in the Act was the last page. That was usually a blooper type of picture. So here we have Jake, and he wraps the Jake the Snake watch around Damien. Ha, 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 very funny. Caught in the Act. It's usually, like I said, a snapshot of let's say, King Kong Bundy, as he's knocked down, and they show him right before he hits the mat. He's kind of levitating in the air, I remember. But yeah, funny stuff. Pile Driver, that's cool. You get the free Pile Driver poster. So if you ordered the cassette, you get the poster. The poster was how big? Doesn't say. I wonder if that's like a 24 by 36 or like a postcard. I don't know. Oh wait, it says right here, 27 by 30, 23 by 35. So that's a full-size poster. That's awesome. I didn't know that. That is a full-size Pile Driver poster. All right, and then more zit pads. that's that. That's Wrestling with the Past, the June 1988 WrestleMania 4 recap edition of the WWF Magazine. Good night now.